I've been wanting to do this sort of video for a while where I review the demos of some games that I played at Steam Next Fest. Steam Next Fest is a little sale that Steam does every few months where game developers who are working on games release a bunch of demos and you can play them, and it's on right now. Anyway, I wanted to put my thoughts down about Capes because it's a neat game in genres I like. It's turn-based tactics and it's superheroes, and I like both of those. It's also from the developers of Hand of Fate. You might like Hand of Fate. I wasn't super into Hand of Fate, but they are developers you know. After playing the demo, it's a little bit of a toss-up for me if I want to play it or not, if I want to buy it. So I made a pro and con list here, things I liked and things I didn't. So some things I liked about the gameplay. The superheroes all feel unique and very synergistic in a way that doesn't feel like I'm forced into a particular archetype. I can see 3 different players walking into a level with the exact same team and playing through 3 totally different ways. Second, as far as I can tell, there's no mischance in this game. It's an interesting design. I don't know if it'll be good, but it feels pretty good to never miss. I like a lot of how the UI looks. The turn counters are nice. The HP looks pretty good. A lot of the combat animations feel good. Some of the other animations could use some polish, but the combat really takes priority, and the combat looks really good. Some things that I would tweak about the gameplay. I didn't see a button for free camera. You can't freely rotate the camera. As far as I can tell, you can use Q and E to move it around. But that's at set intervals. That's not a specific. There's no in between there. Secondly, the camera is at about a 75-degree angle instead of like 45 or 90. This is pretty, and it looks very nice, but it's not as amazing for tactics as I'd like. There's no grid on the ground, not even an option for it. I find it a lot easier to work with a grid than without it. Similarly, I would like if when I was hovering over the icon of a move, that it would show me the range without me having to click on it. That would be really helpful for me. Dialogue skips forward without player input. If you just leave it, it'll just go. There's no dialogue, there's no voice acting or anything like that. Dialogue just skips forward. I would like to do the voices for the characters myself, and I would really like to click through at my own pace, especially because I was checking my texts at the time that right after starting the game, because I saw that there was a click to move the dialogue along, and I checked my texts, and about 3 dialogue boxes moved before I got back to it, which I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that's an intentional effect. Some of the icons are a little weird. Like, they're consistent, but it was a hair confusing for me as a new player. Specifically, Rebound has a teleport that she can use on herself, or if Facet is using it, Facet can use it as a team-up. It can teleport him instead. That's great. But Rebound is a silhouette on both of those. I used it twice, and both times I thought that I was using an action on Facet's turn to move Rebound. I was not. It moved Facet, and it totally threw Facet out of position both times. It was a little inconvenient for me. I'm sure it would be just a little bit of an edit to change it to like a silhouette of Facet teleporting instead of Rebound, or just not Rebound teleporting if Rebound isn't the one actually teleporting with the move. Lastly, a lot of the enemies are just guys, which I'm sure is just part of the demo. I'm sure we're going to get some supervillains later, especially since the bad guys, they're supposed to be kidnapping superpowered individuals, so I'm pretty sure it's just part of the demo. But beating up normal cops as superheroes makes your heroes feel a little bit petty and your villains feel a little bit weak. Alright, I know I already said that the last one was lastly, but I remembered about 3 more things that I wanted to comment about on the gameplay during the production of this video. One thing that I love that you can disable blood and profanity in this game. That's very good for me as a player. That appeals to me. It was a little bit weird that you can't disable them in the demo. I'm not sure what was up with that, but I'm very glad that that's an option. Secondly, 2 things that bugged me. One, you have a guy named Mindfire. And Mindfire is a psionic, and we'll talk more about him later. But it says in his lore that he has the ability to implant thoughts in other people's minds. You can kind of mind control them. He doesn't have an ability that reflects this. He has a telekinetic throw and another telekinetic throw, and he has a move that makes people weak to the rocks that he throws at them with his telekinesis. I wish that he had a mind controlling tool, like an actual controlling tool, instead of, I give you weakness and then I hit you with rocks, because that makes it feel like his superpower is rocks instead of psionics. Lastly, from what I can tell from the demo, and this is just from me looking at the level up screen at the end, from what I can tell, the max level is 5, which means that the campaign is probably super short and has multiple endings to increase longevity. I'm sure this is intentional, I'm sure this is just a budget thing, but it is something I don't like. Presumably these endings would be based on how you react to Rebound being evil, which is a prediction that I'm making right now and that I will also talk about later. So, onto the lore. Things I liked about the lore. I can really see the inspiration from X-Men, especially X-Men 2099. I can also see some really nice Teen Titans and Justice League inspiration, and I like both of those. But now the things I didn't like. This is mostly just me having a personal aversion to these tropes. Not nearly as much a writing issue as it is just I'm not the target. Some things. It's a hair too referential, specifically with Mindfire. Mindfire is a disabled man with massive psionic power in a wheelchair on a team of teenage superheroes. He is a shaved head away from Professor X, and that feels a hair too close. Your other two party members are pastiches of Colossus and Nightcrawler, but they have some differences and they're a lot more subtle about it. Also, Mindfire does that thing where his superpowers totally negate his disability, which is a pretty questionable trope in disability circles. Second, for superheroes, we draw a ton of blood. Like, we kill a lot of people without remorse. Third, your characters insult each other and repeatedly question their mission, and it doesn't feel totally lighthearted. It makes me feel like Rebound is going to betray me, especially since at the end of the demo, as you're walking away from the mission, there is another character with dyed hair who teleports away using, like, shadowy mist, which brings to mind your current character with dyed hair and shadowy mist and teleportation powers. Next up, the evil corporation in the game is a little too blatant for my taste. Too obviously evil. They have Big Brother posters on skyscrapers, and their name is just the corporation. They don't have an actual name as far as I can tell. That's not a real name. It kind of pulls the rug out from under the rest of the game, in my opinion. I also feel like the costumes aren't quite costumey enough. They look like streetwear, which I'm sure is the goal they were looking for, but they don't feel quite unique enough. I feel like if I saw a bunch of cosplayers for this game, I wouldn't realize they were cosplayers. I just think they were people. I don't dig that too much. Next, and probably my biggest complaint, and one I'm sure that's going to get rectified in the full game, I'm not sure if we, as superheroes, ever save anyone. We have plenty of collateral damage, and we kill a lot of people, but we don't really save civilians from the danger of the corporations. Like, when you get Mindfire, he floats down out of his wheelchair and comes and fights for you. But then if you turn the camera just a little bit, you can see his mom cowering, horrified in the corner. It's really sad, and you don't actually do anything to, like, help her or to get her inside. She doesn't flee inside. There's not, like, a button to go defend her from the people. The corporation people aren't fighting them. She is just in the mix as a civilian, and that feels a little bit wrong. I feel like we as superheroes should be concerned about that. We are the beacons of the hope in this city. We should be upstanding and exciting enough that the civvies want to cheer for us and be excited. Even in a grimdark setting, we should be the happy part. Lastly, Mindfire uses his psionic powers to fix his legs, but his hands look like they have 2 thumbs each. I don't know why the legs would get fixed and the hands wouldn't. I'm sure this was an intentional design decision, but it feels a little bit incongruous. Incongruous? I don't know how to pronounce that. It feels a hair off, and his busted hand is in front of his sprite all the time, and it's a little bit spooky for me. Anyway, I'm not sure I would buy this game if it came out right now. I feel like with just a little bit more tweaking and just a little bit more polish, which I'm sure it's going to get, it would absolutely be a game that I would pick up on sale. And like, it doesn't even have to be on sale that much. This is a very appealing game in my opinion. Just a little bit more polish, and I think this would be a buy for me. Anyway, thank you. If you're interested, please subscribe to the channel. I'll have more reviews soon, probably in higher quality because I'm not filming them at 11:55 p.m. on a school night. But anyway, thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, all of that. Have a nice day. Goodbye.